Okay. Hi, welcome to Monday Masterclass. I'm really excited about today because so often I have done this journey alongside other friends who are diamond ambassadors in our company, and we have gotten to, piecemeal each other's stories over the years. But Autumn is actually someone that I haven't gotten to do this business alongside for a very long time. We actually probably don't know each other's stories very well. And that's exciting to me because I've heard actually probably more of her story from her team than I have from her. Because I've gotten to meet different women on her team, and they've told me why they're there and why God has so intricately, like over time and over conversation and intentionality, placed them there. In saying that, Autumn is also a 3-star diamond, which means she has 3 individual jewel legs, which means she has built different people in different ways. And she actually has a unique team in the fact of there is so much coming in new customers, that developing that into leaders is a different actually a different muscle to try to stretch and learn, and actually a totally different way than even our company teaches us, because it's a different avenue. So Autumn, I would love for our team to get to hear your entire story, your journey and timeline of kind of how maybe you got at certain places and what you continue to do. From this side of it, what you continued to do during those times that was obedient, that led to kind of the fruit so much, probably longer than you thought it was going to be. So I'm going to give you the microphone, the audience, the time, and I'm just excited to sit back and get to learn from you.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, and I'm excited to share with you all. So I joined Plexus 8 years ago, and I actually joined for the business, and that's pretty rare, I know here. It started with Erin Bush. Some of you might have seen her. I think it was a convention in Florida that she spoke at, and she came here to get her health addressed by these products. Her and I talked a lot. She was actually my high school English teacher, and she was like a mentor to me. And then we had kids around the same time. And so she started Plexus. She started having incredible health results, and I was so happy for her. I thought, this is great. Like, I'm just thrilled for you. She actually ran the ingredients by me, and I said, yeah, that sounds great. Like, good luck. And she started to have a business that started to grow without her even really doing much, because of her own testimony. So she was encouraged to share her testimony. Her life was being changed, and that just drew in the people because she was vulnerable. And so she starts growing this business kind of unintentionally, and eventually decides, okay, I need to maybe pay more attention to how this works so that I can effectively help people. She had someone that wanted to get her products paid for, that kind of thing. So in this time, she's kind of dripping on me like some information, and she's giving me health information. She knew I was health minded. I'm actually a birth doula. I have a passion for natural health. I always have. Becky was just sharing about a post I just made. And because of that, this other side health journey that I've been on for the last 2 years, I actually started a podcast, which is kind of helped integrate my health passions into one, but it's also kind of helping me in this current health journey. And so anyway, point is, I have always been like a passionate health guru. And so she's sending me all this health stuff. Well, what she didn't really realize until I made it very clear was we were actually struggling financially. And I knew that she was making money, but I didn't really know how much. And it just didn't occur to me. And because she never brought up the business, she was just sending me health stuff. I'm like, I'm good. Like, I got my products. I'm fine. Well, one day I was venting to her about our financial circumstances. And I was just, going through the things, and she kind of got frustrated with me. She's like, Autumn, have you not prayed about this opportunity? So here she had sent me all these things. I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But this moment, it finally hit me over the head. Like, okay, I hear you. I guess, no, I haven't. So let me look at this. So that's one of the first things I want you to think about is there somebody that you have been talking to about the health side that really they need more of the financial side? And so my own story, I actually didn't realize or apply what I just shared with you until months into after joining Plexus, when here I started sharing about the products. And then eventually I realized I need to take a look at some of these people and see who might want the business, who would be really good for this business. So I did that. And sure enough, I had a cousin that all of a sudden turned around and said, yeah, like, tell me more about this business. You've been talking about the products. That's great. But like, tell me more about the business. Same with another stay-at-home mom friend. Once I shared kind of how much I was making and making some extra, cash from home, a couple $100s at the time. So that's the first thing I want to encourage you is we get so passionate about the products, but who really needs the business? And that's really what won it over for me. So long story short, I spent some time looking at the business. I obviously had to continue looking at the products because I knew a little bit about them through Erin, but I didn't know the rest of them. And I didn't want to get behind a company that I couldn't fully support and be okay with because of my own knowledge and passion for health and ingredients and that kind of thing. So when I jumped in for, like I said, the business, and I got down to business like really quickly. I did not know what I was doing. I did not post really at all on social media. In fact, if you were to look at who I am today on social media, which still I still could grow so much more and do even better. But if you were to compare who I was like, it's laughable. It's like hilarious. You just have to laugh at like how cheesy and corny my posts were. And I only post like once a month at the time. So here I was, living this life. We lived in feast or famine. My husband was in construction. I was homeschooling my kids. And, the goal was for me to stay home, but that wasn't working out so well. So we needed an opportunity to be able to make an income. And lo and behold, Plexus ended up being that. Once Erin and I connected, she shared more of her income. She shared more of what this is about. And obviously I researched. But that's another thing I want you to realize is that, if you're someone new, or maybe you've been hiding and you haven't brought out your full potential, that was me. So like I said, did not post. I actually had just cleaned up my friends list prior to joining Plexus. So I had to go like add all these people back. And there's a quote that says, you don't have to get it right. You have to get it going. Okay. And some of you might be overthinking what you're supposed to be doing. It's like that book, Present Over Perfect. Like, just get out there and do something. And essentially that's what I did. I failed forward. I was trying to swim in waters that I had, when I didn't really know how to swim. But truly, it was like my grit and determination and passion just allowed me to eventually, it wasn't easy to go silver. It took about a month and a half. And it was just probably by the grace of God that I just barely got that third person. And then getting to gold, I came to a place where I couldn't even hardly sign anybody. But I happened to have a couple people under me that just had, some good warm networks. And so I stepped in and I helped them while I'm doing my own work over here. And essentially I got to gold by helping my team and still working on trying to slowly grow this outside leg. So overall, went from, gold was probably about 6 months, 5 months, maybe 6 months. We'll jump ahead. I hit emerald in 15 months, sapphire 13 months later, and then sat at sapphire for 3 years. And actually, I only had sapphire points for, I want to say it was 3 months. And then all the rest of those 3 years, I actually was sitting around 2,000 points, we'll just say. Okay, it kind of varied in a small range. Okay. And so it was sitting at emerald, and we had a moment, and some of you may or may not know, but I have some reality TV stars on the team. Okay. And somehow we wound up with quite a handful of them. And, but this story, what I'm telling you right now, when I went to Diamond, they were not here yet. Okay. So I don't want you to look at me and say, oh, well, she got to Diamond because of these people. No, they were not here. I went from an emerald with those points around 2,000 to actually jumping in 2 months to Diamond re-entry. And how that happened was essentially getting the whole team together, getting my main runners, and we helped 2 of those runners go emerald. But what that looked like behind them going emerald was all of their runners were ranking as well. So it's kind of like this big plan to all come together and all look at the months that we're going to be working towards and achieving and preparing for that rank. And so this just came about one day. This was in 2020. And it was incredible. Like, I actually was not even planning to go diamond. I was just helping a level 1 go emerald and helping a couple others. And we woke up on the last day of the month. I was 200 points from diamond. And I couldn't even believe it. And I tried to get there, but it just didn't quite work. So then the next month, we turned right around and worked with my other level 1 to go emerald. And then that's when it ended up going all the way to emerald, or to diamond re-entry. So I have built my business on a couple things that I feel are really key. And I'd like for you to take a minute, if you have like your phone, the note section of your phone, or a piece of paper in front of you, I'd like you to evaluate yourself 1 to 5 in these areas, because I really feel like, for me personally, this is what contributed to me being able to achieve success. And it's not, I hope I made it clear, it's not because I knew what I was doing. You learn, there's a quote that says, it's circumstances we go through, or it's circumstances we grow through instead of go through. And so if you're willing to grow and learn and fail forward, as John Maxwell shares about in his book so well, then you can do this. Okay, but here's the 5 things. Okay, the first thing we always hear is a strong why. But it's true. I had a very strong why, because I was determined to get us out of this place of this feast or famine situation. My initial goal when I was venting to Aaron was that I just hated living in the hole. And this was not conducive to the future that I saw for my family, which was us being able to go on vacations and have some, make some memories. And that was not looking like that was going to be very possible, because when my husband's out of work for 3 to 8 months, and there is nothing we can do about it because that's the construction industry, then I realized, okay, we're not looking so great here. So think of someone like, who do you know that is in a place where they have a major pain point? Because if you can show them what is possible here and they can see it for what it is, I really think they could probably be your next runner. All right, so how strong is your why? 1 to 5, 1 being not all that strong, 5 being very strong. Okay, and I just want you to we're not going to share this, but I just want you to think about it for yourself. And, if you don't have a very strong one, then maybe you need to get with your nearest leader and help uncover a stronger one. And a why is important because I mentioned I'm a birth doula. So a mom that wants to have a natural birth, she has to have a strong why. Like, I couldn't take one of you and say, let's go do a natural birth. Like, let's do this, because the drive has to be within you, the goal, the desire. And so if you don't have that, that's not going to get you very far when you go into labor. Okay. So you have to have this mindset and this goal and this vision. And same with hikers or someone that's going to take, they're big at athletics and they're going to go climb, let's say Mount Everest or whatnot. Okay. So the person now that's not my goal. Okay. So I would not make it very far with Mount Everest. But so you have to have though that goal and that why. Number 2, you likely, I want you to grade yourself on how your reach outs are. Have you talked to enough people? So 1 to 5, have you talked to enough people? And number 3 is, have you followed up enough with those people? And you could also kind of include retention in there, because chances are, if you're not great following up with your potentials, you're probably not as great with following up with your customers. So just kind of all around, like that follow-up process. How are you doing? Number 4, is Plexus a priority? Like 1 to 5, is it a priority? And be honest, because it was very much a priority with me, but I'll go back through these in a minute to share my own tidbits. And then number 5, how is your belief that you can achieve those goals, your belief in yourself? Okay, so that couples with mindset. And if you find that you have poor mindset or poor belief, as we always say, go borrow some from some of your leaders, connect with them, let them come alongside you and pour some of that belief into you. But also, I know Jessica Heffley is like super big on therapy and counseling. And some of my upline have actually dabbled in that, a couple of them, and they have loved it. And I've actually done some coaching, which I feel like is kind of a different angle at like yourself and that mindset type stuff. Some Tony Robbins with one of Tony Robbins coaching for my business. And so it's really important that if you find that you have mindset that needs to be addressed, which most of us do, then what can you do about that? So get into something, see if there's some sort of, coaching or counseling or even therapy, because a lot of the things that we do in this business bring up some of those sore spots for us. And I'll parallel it again with birth. It's the same thing that happens when we get in trialing like vulnerable situations. Like when I talk to a doula client that's wanting a natural birth, that's one of the things I talk to her about is if you've had trauma or something in your life, this situation is going to put you in a place where likely that's going to arise, and it very well could work against you. And it's very true. I've seen it play out. And guess what? I've also seen the same thing play out in Plexus with our teams, with my team and someone's business, where they have something that comes up or some sort of rejection situation. and they turn around and run before I can even like, hey, wait, like, it happens to us all. So don't put yourself down for that. There are some things that are just on other people. Okay. So, but, to add to this, as far as, me and where I am, I would also say, how did I get to Emerald? If you were to ask, my 4 core points would be, I found myself and invested in some good runners. I had some people in my life, and one of them I met on Facebook, and I saw the potential in her, and I invested in them, and I showed them the vision of what this could be. And I was relentless in not giving up on them. I also worked with them. I'm the leader that knows my team. And I want to encourage you to do the same. Me personally, I set aside 1 day a week to connect with my team, no matter what level they are. And this is just like 2 or 3 phone calls 1 day a week. This is me personally, what I like to do. Obviously, not everybody likes to do that, but I have seen the value in doing that, because I end up knowing more of the team. And then each person has a different voice into that person's life and their business. And so I found that valuable. It's inspiring to me to be able to talk to them. Sometimes I can see, or they'll show me an angle of who they are or what they're struggling with that maybe they didn't show to, one of their other upline. So I'm happy to be there to support. I work my own business. That's clearly how I also got to where I am. I still do. And then, as I mentioned, we work with like the whole team. When someone's wanting to rank, we'll work with the whole team and everyone there under them in really rallying to come together. So let's see. I just have a couple notes here that I want to make sure I cover. But the whole premise, I would say, of this business and what I have found is that how you handle your discomfort is the key to unlocking your goals. And here we go again. I didn't even think about this, but it's like literally paralleling with all my birth stuff, because it's truly how a mom handles her contractions will determine if she will make it to the end or not. And there's different means that you can utilize in a birthing situation. And there are tons of resources that we have at our fingertips, as well as people around us here in Plexus that we can utilize to help us when we're in uncomfortable situations where we need to grow through them. That's one thing I will say I have always done, is I have always asked a lot of questions. I have gone to sidelines, uplines. Can't think of a time I've gone to a downline, but I wouldn't not go to a downline if they were doing something that really caught my attention, or I felt was like, I was really curious about. So some of you, I'm going to encourage you for the rest of this year to ask more questions, like get out there and ask people what they're doing, or what your upline's best tips are, or that kind of thing, or maybe some sidelines, it's been something that inspires me and gets my own brain going when I can hear how other people are doing things. Or I'll give you one of my favorite tips, especially when I was sitting at that rank for 3 years. I woke up every day and I worked my business, and it felt like we were just not moving anywhere, which we weren't. And so there were some things I needed to learn. There was some things I needed to grow through. But one of the things is it's really easy to lose motivation. So like, leaders, us diamonds, emerald sapphires, diamonds, like it's not that that doesn't happen to us, because it does. But I would say more so, you might find that we have realized that we need to find that grit and determination again if we feel like it's slipping away. And so one of my little tidbits that I always loved to do was I would jump on YouTube, and I would search other Plexus leaders or other Plexus people just talking about different things that they were doing. And it gives me new, fresh ideas and perspective. Okay. As far as not talking to people enough, those reach outs when you graded yourself. Let me just say, if you have not gone through your whole Facebook friends list, you don't have 1 minute. We will not allow you 1 minute of being able to complain because you have not even exhausted an incredible list of people that's right in front of you that you have access to. Okay. I have been through my whole friends list multiple times. You can print it out, or there's actually a program. It's called Doe. I think it's still around. I don't have it now because I have this new method I'm doing, but I used Doe for many years, and it gave me 10 people a day, or you can set it to 3 to 10 people a day. And I worked through every single one of them. And so no excuses. You have people in front of you to reach out to. I remember a handful of one of my first customers was a friend I had in 2nd grade. And it's just so crazy how we can truly connect with anyone, but that's on you. That's on you. You got to be doing those, getting into action. Let's talk about follow-up. Okay. One of the things I asked my closest business partner, like my power partner, who she is my level 1. I asked her before I got on this training, I'm like, all right, like, what's one thing about me that you feel like that stands out to you as to like how I got you here? And she's like, you were relentless. And so are you relentless in your pursuit of someone that is really good and worth your time? Now that is something I want to caption with, I don't mean just chase them down and run them over, right? Like you got to be wise about it. And if you struggle with what to say, how to say it, like the timing of things, maybe grab one of your nearest leaders and have them work alongside you with that a little bit. If you know that that's kind of one of your struggling points. It's something I definitely had to learn. I'm not saying I vomited on people with Plexus in the beginning, which is pretty much I figured out why I wasn't signing people and why I wasn't able to help get myself to gold more, because I was really I was too passionate. And so I had to kind of learn to restrain myself and say things in a way that were a little bit more simplistic, not so overwhelming. And so I follow up multiple times. We've heard follow up a million times, but it really is true. I would not have the runners that I have today. I'm actually would be technically a 4-star diamond, except for I have an emerald that had a baby and she kind of drifted from her business. But these jewels that I have underneath me, they did not come into this wanting a business. I turned them into business builders. And that is where kind of that relentlessness came into play is, I'm cool and calm on the outside, and I've got my plan to drip on them and water those seeds. But inside, like, I'm just like biting at the bit until the next time I can follow up with them, or the next time I can find a new angle to come in and talk to them about Plexus or this business. So some of you maybe need to be a little bit more methodical with your approach to some really good prospects, that would take your business to the next level, because I could not have ever achieved, nor could anyone ever achieve some of these higher ranks without some people doing this with you. So who else could you go after to help, get a new runner on your team? And then the other thing I like to say is sometimes people whether you're going after them for the products or for the business, a lot of times, really, why they're not here, at least doing the products, is because they don't have enough information yet. And if I look back at myself, the reason why I didn't say yes to Erin and taking the products, which she was trying to get me on, was I didn't have enough information. And I wasn't motivated to learn more information. And it's not that she wasn't sending me things, but I wasn't even motivated to watch them all the way through the videos and the nutritionists and that kind of thing. I would watch like half and just say, yeah, I watched it, whatever. But she wasn't hitting on my pain point, because that wasn't my pain point. And I was just truly business products. I was lacking information on both sides of it. And I see that a lot. I see that with people, especially on our team. We do these like product calls. I love talking about the products. And so we'll get on and we'll do like a 20-minute little product call. And if you can get people on the Zoom, it's so fascinating. You get people on the Zoom and they actually learn what these products do and how they're not all hocus pocus, and that they're actually incredible, effective ingredients that can truly help them, and they understand that. I would say we have our eight or 9 out of 10 people that sign up. It truly shows you people just don't know what they need to truly know to take that next step. So who in your funnel of people right now that you have sitting on the fence, who you're like, man, like, why won't they move? Well, chances are because they're missing some important information that will get them to take that next step. So think about what that is. Or maybe you even ask them, okay? Fear, I want you to always remember, fear is a reaction. Courage is a choice. And I see a lot of people slip into that fear and just slide back in that reaction. And it really takes courage in what we do, right? And especially if you're a believer, God calls us to step forward and have courage in things. And in my own story of this post that I just did, it took me 2 years to have courage. This is like the most challenging situation I've ever been in. And my goodness, like here I have grown this whole Plexus team, and you finally caught Autumn at a place where she has like truly lacked courage, that it's taken her 2 years to come out and be bold with something. And so it's time to step out. Part of that, I let myself get hung up. And I know some of you are not, you're just sitting comfortably in your fear. And so what can we do about that? What can we do to stir that up? Or how, I had a lot of processing to do. What can we do to process that fear of where you're at and get over that hump and help you understand that it's not as scary as what you think it is? And I'm living that right now. And then the belief, the lack of belief in yourself, and how I was referencing like counseling and all that stuff. Let's just say if you struggle with belief that you can do it, then what about your team? How can you pass on that belief to your team that they can do it? There's a saying that says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And so have you looked at, maybe this is the root of it all for you, as you look back through these things, really take a minute when we're done and sit with, where am I kind of weaker in these skills, and what do I need to address right now? And it's really important that you have that belief for yourself, so that you can give that to your team, so that you can get on the phone with them, or you can, help pick them back up when they've been down. I also want you to think about when you look at these 5 categories, there's always a cause to a problem, right? And I had this workbook once. I went to this seminar where they were really getting down to like intentions behind people and the problem and cause relationship. And there was a couple things. One of them was, okay, so if you're a procrastinator, I'm going to give you a couple examples. If you're a procrastinator, they try and do this in one word. Procrastination, that is the problem. The cause is distraction. And I hear these things within Plexus. Overwhelm equals ambiguity, and underperformance equals inconsistency. And so I want you to really try and narrow it down to pinpoint where you need to step up. First you need to be aware of where you're lacking. And then once you're aware, then you want to start to address that at its core. All right. To wrap this up, I will say a couple of the things that just as far as like what's helped me in this business is I lived for those first couple years, and maybe some of you are here now, where you wake up and you grab your phone and you just kind of float around Facebook. You just float over to the team page and you float over to the chats and you see somebody on Facebook that you should reach out to, and okay, I'll get to her, this afternoon. And there's no real game plan. Like Plexus needs priority. Let's just say it really does. That was one thing that I treated Plexus. I always have treated Plexus like a business. There's two types of people in this business: people who produce results and those who give you reasons why they didn't. And so I was the type of person to wake up and work like it was my job, because I wanted this to be enough of an income to be substantial like a job. As we've heard many say over the years, treat it like a job, you'll get that kind of income. Treat it like a hobby, you'll just make hobby money. So I wanted to make real income because I needed to replace my husband's income from home. And so I replaced it. I worked my tail off, woke up every single day, just throwing myself into it, learning, falling down, failing forward, picking myself back up, trying to figure out, asking questions. I was just all about it. I was determined because I wanted out of this financial hole. That was my pain point. And so I forgot where I was going with that. Someone give me a word.
Game plan.
Game plan. No, now I really got myself.
No, you were talking about consistency and working it like a business, and that I got to get out of this hole.
Thank you. Okay, yes. So what I did once, because I was that person to float around Facebook, and that's not a way to work your business. Your husband, your kids, they're not getting the best of you if you're just floating around social media and you're not treating Plexus like a business and getting a game plan together as to what you're going to do for your business. So really, my business changed and I changed and I leveled up. And I became, you could say, more of like that CEO, that owner of your business. And that I sat down and I had a weekend of planning. And I brain dumped every single thing I needed to do in my business, from posting on my team page to, posting in my chats to following up with level ones. I mean, I threw out everything on a piece of paper. And I looked at it all and I said, okay, now I am going to create a structure, a business plan in which I am going to live by daily. And I love organization. I'm not always the best at organization, but this was the moment I decided, oh, I'm getting organized, because things were getting crazy. growth was happening, and I felt like my head was spinning a little bit. And I knew I needed to be effective, and I didn't want some of the things that were really important to fall by the wayside. And here I'm, pouring into the wrong thing. So I spent this time, and I got together a weekly game plan of what I need to do daily for my Plexus business. And I would encourage you to do the same, because sometimes we work from a place where we're just pulling things from our brain, floating thoughts. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to do that. That's not working as effectively at all. So when I had a game plan of, okay, I need to follow, and you get to decide if you want to follow up with, 1 to 5 level 1s every day, then great. If you want, to follow up with 10 to 15 level 1s or 5 level 1s on a Friday, you get to decide what you like to do with that. And so I had this list of things I needed to do. Even the smallest thing, like our team has a testimony page, and all of us Jules have to go approve our own people on that page. Every Monday, that is on my list to do. I go over to that page and I look through to find my team. So point being, I wake up and I have my work that I know that needs to be done for the day, and I live by that. And if I don't finish it, I know where I left off, and I come back and I finish it. And that really helped me, because I felt like I wasn't being effective, and I wasn't being income producing, and I was not being present enough at home when I was horribly unorganized. So that is my one of my last tips I want to leave you with. And I also want to encourage you to think of growing in Plexus in new ways. And I'll let you in on something that I did. This was years ago. Okay. And this is how I think. So get creative with how you think. When The Bachelor, I used to watch The Bachelor years ago. I don't watch it anymore. But when The Bachelor was on TV, and the new season was coming on, guess what I did? I would go stalk some of the people, the contestants that were going to be on the next season. And I would find them on Instagram, the ones that I could actually like, their profile wasn't private. And I messaged them, and who knows what I said, probably something like, I know you're going to be on The Bachelor. I don't know. I couldn't even try and spit out what I said, but I created a message that was me attempting to see if I could get them over here to Plexus before the show started, so that they could grow themselves an insanely massive business, right? And so that's how I think. And when we opened in Mexico, I was working on Mexico, and then of course COVID came in and like shut our whole little thing down, all our little team we had started. But I was working on Mexico for 9 months leading up to us opening there. And what did that look like? I was finding people, messaging people in Mexico. I had started a testimony page, like all in Spanish. We were literally hosting Plexus events in Mexico that I created, me and some of my leaders created, before we were even there. So I want you to really get out of the box in your thinking, think outside the box, and think, what can I be doing that might not only spice up my Plexus experience here, but also could be a really amazing way that could grow your team in a whole new way. And so sure enough, we had a small little something started. It was a lot of work for, some results, but that's how this starts a lot of times, is you have to work hard to be able to get something started. When you're a trailblazer with something, you have to work to get that plane off the ground analogy. You full throttle to be able to get that plane off the ground. Otherwise, that plane is not leaving the ground. So, and the same thing with, it left my mind again. But anyway, so all that to say, get creative. You guys have something in front of you. We're truly blessed. We have an opportunity that we can truly live a life of freedom. And I don't know that we're sharing or celebrating or vision casting that enough, because if I wanted to go take off and travel the world with my family and travel around and live in other countries, I could do that. Where's your like travel vloggers that you could go after that could be using this as an income? But you travel the world. Obviously, you can give more. You can retire your husband, which I did for a short time. And then he realized, no, I think I want to work. And so he's back to work. And, you know, you can save for your dream home. You can do whatever you want. You have the freedom at your fingertips, and you have people all around you that can and will make this happen if you are truly consistent. And there was one quote that I wanted to find here, but I don't know that I'm going to find it.
Autumn, while you're looking, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
You mentioned Mexico and how you were working on Mexico for 9 months, and Mexico opened at the beginning of 2020. And you said it was in 2020 that you had that massive jump from like 2,000 points to reentry diamond. So you were working on Mexico when you were not holding Sapphire, correct?
Yep.
I just want to, I want to ask that question because I want people to hear that. I think a lot of people on this call think they need to be making a certain amount of money in order to pitch the business to people. And I think that's a thought fallacy. So I had that question. And then the other thing I think of, like, Autumn, when I think of you, I think, you know, health enthusiast, guru, all that. We served on the product board together for a brief while. But really, when I think of you, I think of someone who is a strategist, because you mentioned the reality TV celebrities. And I mean, like, our team's going to be like, who are they? And you can talk about that. But you had to harness having that kind of potential on your team. And I remember when I heard that story of yours, I think I heard it from Melissa Eichenhorst, I was thinking, I don't know that I have the strategy brains to handle having people with that much potential. So can you talk a little bit about how you do strategize, like when you've got someone who you know is a runner or an influencer, how you came to figure out how to manage that strategy?
Yes. And I just want to say, like, sorry, I'm like beat red over here. I can't be in my house doing this training, and we have like this guest house, and the air conditioning just so happens to be broken. So I'm like, oh, we're getting our sweat session in over here. So that's why my face is red. So yeah, I won't take all the credit because it's my level one, the truly, like, her and I, find yourself a power partner if you haven't already. It truly like sweetens this whole business experience. It allows you someone to bounce ideas off of. And I feel like, I honestly feel like the people on my team that don't have someone, they're missing out, and they know they're missing out. And I truly feel like some people probably do walk away just because they're like lonely. And so I've actually teamed up some people on my team, just as a total side note, because I felt that to be so valuable for me. And I wouldn't say I have just one. I mean, I have a couple others, but this one, Rachel, she's just amazing brain, and her and I just are like fireworks when we get together. But no, I have to give her so much of the credit. We put our heads together, but it's a big undertaking. And people say like, oh, I'd love a reality TV star. She and I will be the first ones to tell you, if you cannot handle like working your own business and getting yourself to gold, senior gold, ruby, there is no way you could handle someone of a bigger status, because it has been an undertaking for us to be able to help them and work with them to set up something that they can utilize and create a system. And so some of that involves like automations, but then live Zooms. So you've got massive amounts of people where just some things you have to automate, but then you need that personal aspect. So you've got lives and Zooms being offered and all these things. So it's a process. And then there's private chats for, people that are more serious and that are doing the business and that do deserve that attention. So yeah, it is a process that, you might wish for, but in reality, you might end up finding that you're drowning because I've talked to other people to see, other people's experience. Some people have had other, big influencers in Plexus, and some have said, yeah, they just walked away because they just felt it was too overwhelming. And others, have shared, well, we came up with systems and that kind of thing. So we kind of adopted a little bit of a lot of different things and put it together. But yeah.
Does anyone have a question for Autumn? Throw it in the chat. If you don't want to unmute, sometimes unmuting is hard to talk over each other. But Autumn, were you a vision cast? I mean, I would think being a doula, you would kind of have to have been a vision caster kind of to start with, that you have to help moms all the time visualize, like, here's what my end goal is, but here's what I think you do really well, that I wonder if everyone listening to this can actually say they do well, is you probably talk about pain points from the beginning. You go, this is not going to be easy. Like, you don't even probably, I can imagine that as a doula, you would go, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This is going to be hard. You're going to get to your mental end. You're going to think this is as physically far as my body will go. And you're going to have to mentally jump over. I think that's called something. I had an epidural, so I'm not going to try to pretend I know what I'm doing. But there's probably something where it's like, you have to go over this edge of my body can no longer do this. My mind is going to have to take over to tell my body what to do at this point, because because at some point my mind's going to tell me I can't do it anymore. So I'm going to have to actually push through whatever that is. And I would think most of us, and tell me if I'm right, guys, but most of us are like, it's so easy. You share a link, people join, you make lots of money, you have fun. There's a trip to Mexico that's 1,500 points later, but I'm not going to tell you that right now, because that seems like, I'm making it look too hard and too difficult. Would you say that from the beginning, you knew this is going to be hard, and I'm going to tell every single person coming in, it's going to be fun and the reward is going to be worth it, but there's some work involved here, and the work may be painful?
Yeah, I would say that I've been maybe more of a realist in that way, where not typically one to I mean, I don't want to scare them away if I'm trying to get them, obviously, to come do this business, but I also am not going to lie and say otherwise. So I would say my focus changes. My focus at first is what is their pain point and how Plexus could be a solution to them. Because in each of my runners, it was entirely different. There is no, and that's the other thing I want to say is I'm not your best speaker. I'm not your best trainer. I don't have all these incredible systems. Okay, yeah, we got the systems for the reality TV star people, but systems didn't build me to Emerald. It was very sloppy, but I have always been honest, a realist, as you would say, and keeping that vision in front of them. If you can figure out what that is that they would long for or desire, and they have to believe that they can do that, and helping them get to that place. And then when you work with them, of course, once they're okay, let's do this. We're going to talk about all the things, and I'm even, oftentimes I prepare them for what is to come. Don't be surprised if you post and, you don't get any response, and don't be surprised if you have people leave. My very first customer, she lost 3 pounds and 5 inches, and she decided Plexus wasn't working, and she left, So I absolutely have talked about that, and am very upfront with it, because I want people I don't want people to be shaken by these circumstances that come. They're what we have to grow through. And I tell them, embrace it, because that's just also like labor as well. And there's support, and there's things we can do in labor to help that. And there's things we can do here in Plexus to help that. So just keeping good open communication, realistic expectations, and then just knowing like, we're going to do this, but it's not going to be easy, but we're going to do this. And it's entirely possible.
Autumn, we got a good question in the chat asking, can you give some examples of how you approach people in conversation who weren't necessarily your friend or in your circle about Plexus, and how did those messages, emails, or texts start? Because you do mention your strategy of approaching people who you saw were going to be on The Bachelor. So you have this great outside of the box thinking. What's your approach to people that you don't have a natural relationship with, and how do you word it?
So like I said, the Bachelor one, I had to really think that through. And I tried a couple different approaches. I always try a couple different approaches, to be honest. Like, I don't know what always is going to work. And sometimes I grab a power partner or an upline and get their look at it, and see like, what are your thoughts on this? I'm not afraid to have feedback, guys. Like, that's why I say, like, ask questions. Like, people will sit over there in their corner and they have problems, and then like, that's it. And then they walk away like, well, this doesn't work for me. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, come on, people. So go brainstorm with people, ask questions, like try things. But so I tried a couple things specifically with The Bachelor, some approaches. I could probably, like, if you, I know I could find one person, and it did work. I got really close to signing someone. I was actually talking to two people, one person, and I just couldn't quite get her. And then she got swept up by another tide after being on the show, because the whole point was to get them before the show. So I got talking to two of them before the show, and then a little bit during the show, and just, built some relationships, tried to find some common ground, because you don't want to just be after them for Plexus. Like, that's not going to work. I mean, your initial reach out can be, and that was my approach, I will be honest. But after that, the goal is like, be a regular person, like try and, be normal. But as far as, okay, like Mexico, for example, I did a corporate training on this. Other countries, and it's still every once in a while I'll play around with this, is I reach out. Let's say I find a girl in Australia. Her name's Jessica. Hey, Jessica. Hey, question for you. You live in Australia, right? And that's a non-confrontational question. They're probably like, this is a very odd question, but yes, I do. And sometimes they'll say like, yes, like, what's up? And I say, okay, great. Can I ask you a question? And so since they've already answered me, they would feel dumb to like not say, yes, I'll answer a question, or yes, you can ask me a question. And so I'll say, great. And then I say, my name is Autumn. I'm from the United States. And right there, I feel like there is just a different, I don't like the word vibe, but kind of like a different vibe with knowing that I'm not in your country. I'm not like one of those people, whatever you think network marketing is, like, I'm over here in the US, like I'm harmless, I'm over here. And so I'm in the US, and, we are, I wonder if I could find my exact verbiage here. Oh, my phone is off. I am looking to expand my business in Australia, or, I'm looking for, you could take it in so many different directions. I'm looking to expand my business. I'm looking for a couple testimonies in Australia for this health company that I work with. And I, am someone that struggles with this, that, and the other, acne or anxiety or headaches. Do you happen to know someone that might be open to being a product tester, blah, blah, blah. And so I'll start with that. And usually, I mean, if it's here If I can somehow give them some sort of a discount or something, which that's a little bit harder to do in another country, I will, if I'm asking them to be a product tester. But anyway, that's kind of an idea of like reaching out for the business. I'm looking to, expand my business over into your country. Do you keep your options open for alternate streams of income where you can work from your phone, work as little or as much as you want? And then they say yes or no. And then I just kind of, so I'm giving it to them in bite-sized pieces, keep them coming back. And then eventually you jump into, sure, like, well, what is this, and then you find a nice little packaged way to share what Plexus is, or you can invite them to an event. So we've held like Australia, like Plexus 101s, but like for Australia products. So you can invite them to an event, or I've done Zooms. Like when we have an Australian team and we're doing a Zoom for them, I'll like go and message Australia people and invite them onto the Zoom. So there's so many different angles you can go at with this. As far as though, to answer your question more specifically, if I'm building a relationship with someone I don't know, not in another country, but just someone I'm after, I mean, usually it just starts with building some sort of a relationship, unless I will tell you that the better the prospect, this doesn't go for the bachelor, but the better the prospect of, like, let's say there's this really good influencer, and I usually try and take the relationship approach first and work up to Plexus. But sometimes I will just jump straight in. Hey, do you ever keep your options open? You look like you have like a great thing going. I do something where I work from my phone as little or as much as I want. And I'm actually looking to train and rise up a new influencer in what we do. Is this something you might be open to hearing more about? So.
One thing I kept hearing, and I just wrote this in the chat, is that Autumn was willing to fail. Like think about how many people she has probably sent these messages to in other countries, on shows, in different circles. And she was willing to be like, you know what? I just wrote that and that actually sounds kind of dumb, or nobody responded, or, oh, okay, that didn't work. Let me see if I go at it from this different angle. Let me see, and what's interesting is that you started reaching out to the Bachelor people probably long before you had the people that are on your team now. But what I know about the people that you have on your team is it was through your wisdom of being a doula, of being intentional, of dripping for a long time and saying, I think you really need to do this business. And one of the people on your team said she was ready to get off all social media, get rid of all of her influencer accounts, all of her, what do we call them? Where they have all the contracts with all the different companies of, yes, I'll support your deodorant and I'll talk about your, snacks and all that kind of stuff. And she was like, I was willing to get rid of all of that. And Autumn literally brought in the vision to me of what this could look like and how it was different than all of these other things, than talking about, a water bottle from Amazon and, this, toothbrush option over here. She was like, it really, I could align myself with one company. I could do something I really believed in, with someone I really trusted, that had gained my trust over time, because being a little bit in the spotlight can be odd on who you trust. And I think there were so many levels to, you built trust, and so whatever you're doing right now, are you building trust with your audience? Are you building trust with the people that you're having conversations with? Because I would say Autumn saw the potential in this person. I know Autumn saw the potential in this person because she kept telling her she did. But even more than that, she saw the value in just the person and the relationship. And if nothing else, I'm going to be your doula. I'm going to help you do a VBAC. I'm going to show you how this could work in your personal life. And, just my knowledge in life, my value, I can add to you. But also, I think there's this thing over here that would change because we've gotten to be friends, because we've gotten to know each other, because I know your pain points. I can actually tell you there's one company you can partner with. And that has just exploded. But I think the wisdom of God bringing you to Diamond before giving you that gift. And sometimes it probably feels like a little bit of a curse, but that gift of a team is so wise. So yes, if you're out there going, Kali, I would love an influencer that already gets how social media works and already has a huge following, and I can just sit back and answer questions when they need questions answered, but I can promise you that is not what Autumn and Rachel do. I can promise you there is no sit back and cash the check. There is a lot of, if you aren't willing to leave your team, follow up and figure out systems right now at your rank, I promise you, if you got a massive influencer that signs a good number of people on a daily basis, you would not know what to do with that. It would literally probably fall apart, not because you're not smart, but because you don't have infrastructure. And so I just think there's so much wisdom in that. Do the things right now.
We say if they would have come, much sooner in our journey, we would have not been able to help them in the way that we can, because we didn't have the knowledge. You kind of pay your dues when you work through all your trials and tribulations in this business and you grow through them, that you get to add those notches, those tools to your tool belt that you didn't have. And so we finally came to a place where, okay, we are capable of taking on that type of thing, but years ago, we would not have been capable. It would have all fallen apart, like she just said. So 100%.
Autumn, thank you so much. I'm actually excited to go read your post from today, since Becky came on talking about it and I haven't even seen it yet. So I would go get to know Autumn in her post today. Autumn, thank you for sharing. I think I took 5 pages of notes. Because I think it's good to hear so many different perspectives on how people have grown this. But here's what I got at the end of the day. You were willing to do hard things, not beautifully, and see what worked and what caught traction. And I just think that is incredible. Yes, authenticity, Linda, was exactly a great word for this. Such a great call. Thank you for investing in our team, and we just appreciate it. And we will definitely talk to you later. I will see you tonight.
Sounds good. Thanks again
Bye,
for having me, guys.